the key of David. This is a teaching for women, teaching on the key of David, what it is, who is it for, and why is it given? What does it to you when you keep it? So briefly, the key of David is a sexual fast. It's a 3-day sexual fast coming onto the Sabbath, which you can only do if your spouse is in agreement. If you're single, you're fine. It opens up the scriptures of the Bible, right? And it opens up these mysteries of the word of Jehovah, and it gives you spiritual strength. Okay, it's not for everyone. Therefore, you don't have to hold the key of David to enter the kingdom. It doesn't stop you from entering the kingdom. Okay, so in the Bible, you will see that kings and the men, they kept the key of David. They held themselves from women for 3 days because they battled on the Sabbath day, right? You see that with David and Joshua. Even Moses commanded the Israelites to wash their garments and keep themselves from women for 3 days, in order to make their vessels holy. Okay. What key of David also permits you to do good on the Sabbath, right? And to break it for your immediate need, right? But remain blameless. So if you are out doing the will of Jehovah, you're proclaiming the refreshing of the Holy Covenant, you helping people find the way to, the kingdom. You give the people key to the kingdom, which is keeping the covenants, right? So when you're out, you do good on the Sabbath, just as our Messiah did. If you have your immediate need, if you go to the shop, let's say, and buy water or buy some food because this is what you need right now and you really need, you're hungry, then you can go and do it and you remain blameless. Okay? So the key of David permits you to break the Sabbath for your immediate need, and remain blameless, right? If you cannot receive the key of David, don't speak against it, because Revelation 22, verse 18 and 19 tells us that if you take away from the word of Jehovah or add unto it, then your name will be blotted out of the book of life, and you really don't want this to happen to you. Okay, so if you have not received it, you don't understand it, don't speak against it. Okay. Let's read Matthew 19. But he said unto them, all men cannot receive this saying, right? Save to whom it is given. For there are some eunuchs which were so born from their mother's womb, and there are some eunuchs which were made eunuchs of men. Okay, so that's circumcision. And there be eunuchs which have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sakes. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it. Messiah is telling you that you can make yourself a eunuch for the kingdom's sake. He's telling you that you can keep the key of David. You can deny your flesh, basically, because, sex is something a lot of people struggle to hold themselves from. So if you can deny this kind of pleasure, right, when you're married, of course, if you can deny your flesh from having this kind of pleasure for 3 days, it pleases Jehovah if you do that. So we're going to go to Revelation 3, right? This is the church of Philadelphia. Spiritually, when you read about this church, you think about Jacob. So Jacob is the end-day servant, and he holds the key of David, right? And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, these things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth. I know thy works, behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength, right? Jacob is a worm, he's got little strength, and hast kept my word, right? He has the spirit of prophecy, right? He did not deny the law, like he did not deny Messiah, right? He speaks according to the law and to the testimony. and has not denied my name, right? Because Jacob meditates continually on the name of Jehovah, right? On the commandments. He teaches commandments. He's passing, he's teaching other people to keep the covenants, right? He's proclaiming God's judgment against disobedient nations, right? Verse 9, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, and they are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, right? The tribulation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth, right? Everyone will be subject to tribulation if they don't repent prior to it. And you repent by keeping 2 covenants of promise, eating clean, keeping the 10 commandments, passing it on, teaching other people to do the same, which is the royal law. Behold, I come quickly, hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Okay, so the key of David, hold it. Because, you see that this church of Philadelphia did not receive the rebuke, right? And Messiah says to hold the fast which thou hast. He says about the key of David. He speaks about the key of David. So if you can, obviously, hold the key of David, because it's a spiritual blessing. Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my Jehovah, O my God. And he shall go no more out, and I will write upon him the name of my God, and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out from heaven from my God, and I will write upon him my new name. Okay, he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. So, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall no more go out, and I will write upon him the new name. So New Jerusalem that comes down from heaven, from my God. So that's going to be Messiah with the 144,000, which keep the key of David. 144,000, they do keep the key of David. These are the servants, and the servants of Jehovah. This is the army the scriptures speak of. Okay, let's go to Matthew 12. We're going to see how Pharisees accused Messiah for doing unlawful on the Sabbath day, but it was lawful for him to do it, right? Because he was the eunuch from birth. But he saith unto them, have ye not read? Okay, so let's go up. Okay, and at that time Yeshua went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were hungered, and began to pluck the ears of corn and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day. But he said unto them, have ye not read what David did when he was hungered, and they that were with him, how he entered into the house of Jehovah, and did eat the shewbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests? Or have ye not read in the law how on the Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath, and are blameless? But I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple. But if ye had known what this meaneth, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, ye would not have condemned the guiltless. For the Son of Man is the Lord of the Sabbath, right? The Son of Man is the Lord of the Sabbath. When you women in the Christian church try to use this passage to say that, Messiah is our Sabbath now, no, that's not what it speaks about, okay? Messiah rose on the Sabbath. He is the Lord of the Sabbath. Right, so he says in here, go learn what David did, right? So you have to go and search it out, but you women in the Christian church wouldn't do it, okay? Because you do not read a line upon line, and that causes you to stumble at Messiah, because you do not receive, the testimonies that speak about him, like Deuteronomy 18. But let's go to 1 Samuel 21, because that's where we will read about what David did. So 1 Samuel 21, verse 3. Okay, now therefore, what is under thine hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in mine hand, and what there is present. And the priests answered David and said, there is no common bread under mine hand, but there is hallowed bread, if the young men have kept themselves at least from women. And David answered the priest and said unto him, of a truth women have been kept from us about these 3 days, since I came out. And the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it were sanctified this day in the vessel. Okay, this tells you that David was allowed to, eat the showbread, right? The hallowed bread, because him and his men kept themselves from women for 3 days, which made their vessel holy. That is why they was permitted to do that. Okay, the same way Messiah healing on the Sabbath, he was permitted to do that because he was a eunuch from birth, and his disciples, right? They held the key of David. Okay, so now Exodus 19. Exodus 19, verses 14 and 15, right? So Moses commands, and here we will see that Moses, in order to sanctify the people, commanded them to wash their garments and keep themselves from women, from their wives for 3 days to make their vessels holy, okay? And then, and it came to pass on the 3rd day in the morning that there were thunderings and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with Jehovah. So in order for them to meet with Jehovah, right, they had to be sanctified. They had to, keep themselves holy. It was not possible. It wouldn't be possible for them to be in the presence of Jehovah if they wasn't holy. And mind you, these are men, right? This is speaking about men. Joshua 6, verse 15 and 16. Joshua and his men, they was able to battle on the Sabbath because they kept the key of David. I'm going to go to 1 Corinthians 7. 1 Corinthians 7, verse 5, to show you that, this part is speaking of the key of David too. Defraud ye not one another, except it be with a consent, right? So prior to that, it speaks about, wife being not being in the power of her own body, but the husband being in charge, like he basically owes her body, so she can refuse sex to him, right? And the same for the women. Defraud ye not one the other, except it be with consent for a time, that ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency, right? But I speak this by permission and not of commandment. So this tells you that the key of David is not commanded for you to keep in order to enter the kingdom. You keep it because you desire, you both desire, you and your husband, you both desire to please Jehovah. And so obviously no sex on the Sabbath. Keep yourselves away from doing your own pleasures on the Sabbath day, because this is the day which is holy. You can't profane it. In Jubilees 50, verse 9 and 10, I think it speaks that those who would have sex on the Sabbath would die. So this clearly shows you just can't do that, right? So no extracurricular activities, no sex on the Sabbath. Make sure you don't speak against the key of David if you cannot receive it, because it's not for everybody. Make sure you keep the 10 commandments. Do not eat no unclean flesh. And once you learn that you have to take the log out of your eye in order to see clearly, right? Because the idols like Christmas tree makes you deaf, dumb, and blind. So once you repent of Christmas, which Messiah tells you in John 3, you have to do that, right? He's quoting Jeremiah 10. And that's where he also speaks about it in Matthew 7. You have to take the log out of your eye first. So you have to take the Christmas tree out of your eye, because you won't be able to judge righteous judgment. And these idols like Christmas tree make you deaf, dumb, and blind. You cannot partake it. It's the tradition of the heathen. It's the worship of seasons, strange gods. You're passing your children through the fire if you do it. So if you do that first, then maybe Yah will allow you to receive the key of David. But repent, women, the time is at hand.